everything you need to know about the Polish Football League and Polish football, the state of Polish football, with Poland's best English language expert on the subject, Mr. Christopher Lash. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Paddy. How are you?
Now, you are passionate about Polish football, aren't you?
I am, yep.
Because not many people are, let's be honest, outside of Poland.
That's certainly true, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I set up a blog about 7 years ago, before the Euros, and basically it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I started writing about the Polish League, and now I can't get out of it.
So you are basically, right now, you're a blogger and a podcaster on the subject of Polish football?
Yeah, I got a blog, which I don't write on that much currently, but the podcast I do every month. And I also, I'm just basically, I've appeared in various media, Polish media, English media, talking about Polish football, yeah.
So are you the only person interested in the Polish National League and national team, or are there lots of other foreigners following the sides?
There's a couple of other people who sort of write about it a bit and stuff, but I think that my main audience are Polonia, for example, in America, in Britain, in Canada, and I think a lot of Polish people are actually quite interested to see someone who's got a different perspective on the league, because people are very negative about the league, and I try to be positive and try to say, well, guys, stop complaining. It's not that bad. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
But obviously, if you look at the quality of the passing, the speed of the game, the English Premier League, for example, one of the best leagues in the world, if not the best, you just see that there's light years of difference between that and where most Polish league teams are. Am I right?
Sure, but if you take the example, for example, the Women's World Cup currently, right? I mean, people are not watching it because of the standard, but you're watching it because it's an event, right? It's supposed to be entertainment. Does it have to be good quality to watch something? I mean, it's not like a film. It's different. Football has its own kind of flow. You can watch it no matter what. It doesn't have to be fantastic. And there are a lot of leagues which are a lot lower quality than Premier League. It's the best in the world. Why always watch the best? You don't always have to watch the best, always.
So
that doesn't sound very good, but that's the truth. It's the truth.
Let's talk about Polish support then. A couple of things, obviously. What does Polish doping mean? When I first came to Poland, the word doping, it's common currency.
Nothing to do with drugs. It basically means, it's a very different style of fandom, you might say, than in England. Mostly based on ultra culture, mostly based on singing all the way through the match. In England, normally when there's a goal, people react. People react when there's a corner. People in Poland think it's really funny because in England, when we get a corner, everyone just cheers and goes mental. In Poland, no one cares really. But it's much more about creating noise the entire game instead of in England where we react more to things that happen on the pitch.
Okay, and you've just already mentioned the word ultras.
Yeah.
Polish ultras scene seems to be pretty strong still.
Sure, I mean, but there are lots of normal fans as well. I mean, ultras are kind of, they can be very fun and interesting, and they can have their negative sides as well. I mean, I think in terms of visually it's quite interesting. I mean, the flares, I'm not a fan of flares, and they're illegal in the stadium, but visually it looks interesting from a distance. I mean, the tifos, these big things that they put out at the match, as long as they don't have too aggressive political tone, can be quite interesting as well. Obviously it can go a bit too much in one direction. I normally don't really focus on that very much, and I think that I don't really like it very much, but yeah.
So if I was a foreigner coming to Poland and I wanted to go to the equivalent of the Manchester United or the Arsenal, the big ticket team, who would I go and see and watch? Which stadium would I go to?
Well, if you're in Warsaw, you'd be going to watch Legia, which have, again, massive ultra culture, exciting kind of these tifos at the stadium, flags and all this kind of stuff. But the other big teams are Wisła Kraków. In Kraków also have a lot of fans. It's also quite crazy in terms of their ultra culture, but also a nice big stadium. Lech Poznan, and also a really big team. So I'd probably say those are the three ones. But Poland has a really quite vivid culture, football culture, even if people are incredibly critical often in Poland about the whole thing. I think that's a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it's not just the extra class. There's also there's a whole football league system underneath it as well. So there's stuff to do here. It's actually quite a good place to watch football, I think.
Lewandowski, Piątek, Błaszczykowski, those are pretty well-known footballing names, but Poland doesn't seem to export talent quite as well as other countries. Is that fair?
Not entirely, and recently a lot more have been going. I think that with Lewandowski's success, Piątek, remember, played in the Polish league until last summer, So he was only there for a year. And with these two, they're scoring a lot of goals. Kovnatski's in Germany. They're also, Milik has scored a lot of goals in the Italian league. So recently, especially the Polish striker has been kind of really popular, and I think a lot of good strikers were going to go for a lot of money to foreign leagues. Polish goalkeepers have always been quite decent.
Classic. Yeah. Why is that? It's always interesting.
I think it might be partly to do with people playing handball in Poland, which no one plays in England whatsoever. But I think that's what I've heard, is that there's a great tradition with handball. Obviously, it's also about upper body strength, and a handball keeper, they get the ball thrown at them really hard from really, really close distances. So if you can be a good handball keeper, you can be a great goalkeeper.
Okay, that's an interesting theory I'd never thought of. Who is the best Polish league team?
Well, normally it's Legia, but this year, no. This year, Piast Gliwice won. So that was their first ever title. The first ever title of a Upper Silesian, which is kind of used to be the big region for Polish football. They won the title this year for the first Silesian team since 1989, since the fall of communism. Not a very big club. They won the league. It was a great thing. It was a bit like the Polish Leicester sort of story. But Legia are the big team, really. Wisła Kraków were fantastic in the noughties. I hate using that word, but anyway, in the noughties. But recently, really, it's been Lech and Legia who've been fighting it out. And Piast this season sort of shocked everyone by just winning it. By winning, I think they won 6 out of the last 7 games, and that sort of pushed Legia off the top. Okay,
and are there any teams that you're looking out for next season that you think are going to do well?
I mean, Legia have the most money. They've got a massive budget. They'll be annoyed at the fact they didn't win the league this year. So I think that Legia probably have got a very good chance, like they do every year. Lechia Gdansk have got quite a lot of money. They've made a couple of good transfers. They came 3rd last year, and they should have really won the league, but they didn't. So I think they're a big team to watch out for. Piast, I mean, they don't have a big budget, so I'm not expecting Piast to do that much this year. They lost a couple of key players, but fantastic story last year, and remembered for a long time, I think.
What about the Polish national team? How well have they done in recent competitions?
It's got a lot better. I mean, for a long time they didn't qualify for big competitions. I think it was '86 they won the World Cup, and it took them 16 years to make it again. They missed out on a lot of European championships, but recently, especially in the qualifying stages, they've been winning loads of games. They got to the quarters of Euro 2016. They didn't do well at the World Cup 1 year ago, sorry. But in general, it's not great, but it's sort of, they are now probably in the top 25 in the world. And for a long time, for like 10, 15 years, they were like number 40 or whatever. So it's getting better. I think that they should be probably qualifying for most World Cups in the future, especially now when it's going to be 48 teams, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But anyway, so they've got, Lewandowski's a fantastic player. Piątek is coming up. He's scoring the goals now. There's Zielinski, who plays for Napoli. Krychowiak, who's playing in Russia, but he also was playing in Spain before and at PSG. They've got a lot of good players. And the future looks relatively good, I think.
And in terms of playing style, is there something uniquely Polish about the way that team play?
The classic Polish style, the classic Polish football style is counter-attack. Poland have a lot of quite physical players. It's a little bit like England in that regard. There's a lot of kind of physicality, a little bit more technical way traditionally. Obviously, England's becoming more technical with the different ways the academy systems run. But I think Poland, it's more counter-attack. They always say there's the famous Hussars, who are the cavalry charge, and often people in Poland compare the way that Poland plays to the Hussars. It's like quick, clever kind of counter-attacking play. I love the Hussars obviously play football, but they went for it quickly, and so people like Grosicki, who's 31 now, playing for the national team, it's sort of like just basically moving quickly down the wings, and it's not really build-up play. It's not really build-up play.
Does every country have that? Because that's quite a weirdly direct relationship with history in terms of how you're going to guide your style.
I think that's how people rationalise it. I don't think it's because the Hussars told someone, you will play counter-attack. No, I mean, I think it's based on the fact that Poles are quite physically strong, quite big compared to other countries, I think. But it's a difficult one to understand why. I mean, in England as well, counter-attack's quite a big thing. But in England, I suppose traditionally it's crosses in, headers in, and then headers into the box. And it's changed a bit recently. But I think with Poland, especially with like tiki-taka, which was played in the past, and you know, with Spain and stuff, passing loads of passing the ball all the time, I think there needs to be a kind of a contrast. So I think counter-attacking works. Look at the way that Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool play. A lot of it is based on pace and strength and stuff. So I think that it's not bad to play counter-attack. A lot of Polish people are critical. They say that they can't play build-up football, but I think that counter-attack is not a bad way to play.
So you're an academic by day.
Yeah.
What do you teach?
I'm an academic. I teach an international relations department, but I'm a historian. Yeah, that's what I do. I do a bit of sports history now as well. I've sort of gone into that a little bit. I've written a couple of articles about Polish football scandals from the past that have appeared in good academic journals. So yeah.
Okay, and what is it you're teaching? What kind of history?
I'm a 20th century historian really, and I wrote my PhD about Polish, population movements after the Second World War. So it's Polish related, Poland, CE, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So technically you're a doctor?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, Dr. Lash, I do apologise. And how is it that a historian ends up in Poland teaching that subject?
Well, I did my MA in Poland. I taught English as a foreign language actually for a couple of years in Slovakia. Then I went to Poland. I was teaching in Łódź. Then I wanted to do an MA. I wanted to go back to academia, so I did it in Krakow at UJ, at the Jagiellonian University. Went back home, did my PhD in Manchester for 4 years, wrote about Polish history, got some funding from AHRC, a funding body, and then just I wanted to come back to Poland, basically.
So, but why Poland?
Initially, no real reason. I wanted to travel. I wanted to travel around Europe. I did a TEFL, and teaching English foreign language kind of course, and I initially went to Slovakia. I was interested in the whole kind of post-communist thing a little bit. At that point, it was only 13 years after the fall of communism when I first went to Slovakia. Obviously now it's a lot longer, 30 years. You go to a place, you find things interesting, you stay, basically.
Well, that's a wonderful way to end today's episode. I'm calling time. If I had a whistle, I'd blow it. Thank you, Chris.
No worries.
That was your quick guide to Polish football. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone you think might be interested in the state of Polish football, or anyone who might have a strong opinion on everything Chris has said about the individual style of play and the performance of league teams and the national team as well. You can check out a whole bunch of fascinating conversations with fascinating people leading fascinating lives in the fascinating country of Poland on our channels, The First News, wherever you find them. I'll see you again for the next episode.